Hello, bookers and bookettes. Welcome back, or in some cases, welcome to the channel. I am your host, Blue-Eyed Black Devil, and I am here with the final installment of Emily Crep's trilogy, which has no base title. But the first book in the trilogy is Marked for Life. The second one is Marked for Revenge, and the final one is Slowly We Die. All right. Now, before I get started telling the story, excuse me, I might cough from time to time. Don't pay it any attention. My throat is sore, but other than that, I'm fine. Now, what I really want to talk about, though, is YouTube is making it so hard for content creators like myself who review and recap books, because there are certain words and phrases that they don't want us to use. If you use them, then you run the risk of getting a copy strike, or they take your channel away, or either they may suspend your channel. I haven't had any of those done, and I don't want to have them done. So, if I seem to be saying, if I speak a whole sentence and then you wonder why I am speaking of a whole sentence when it could have been said in a couple of words, then that's why. And you may notice me pausing. It's not because I've forgotten what I wanted to say, so much as me trying to find other ways of saying what I would say if they weren't so strict on YouTube. Now, with all of that said, let's move on to the next thing. Now, when I restarted my channel back in November of last year, I debuted a segment that I like to call About the Author. Now, I have a few more subscribers than I had before I restarted the channel. So, for my new subscribers and any visitors that may happen upon the channel, let me go back and tell you a little bit about the author that I chose for my debut author on my debut segment. Like I said, that is Emily Crep. I love saying her last name. I don't know why. But anyway, Emily Crep is Sweden's premier author. She has over 40,000 books in print to date. She won the Screensaver Writers Award for 3 consecutive years. She won 2016, 17, and 18. She still lives in Sweden with her husband and their 2 children. Now, let me tell you, I noticed one big difference in this book versus its other 2 predecessors. The first 2 books took place, underground, any type of unethical, immoral, unsavory, illegal, debauchery, all of that was done, but it was underground between Taiwan and Sweden. And for whatever reason, I don't know what made her change her mind, but this one it takes place in and around a medical setting. All right, on to the story, the telling of the story. As usual, someone has lost her life due to no fault of her own. Yana Berzelius, hotshot DA Yana Berzelius, is in court while her nemesis, Danilo Pena, lies in the hospital, supposedly unconscious. Now, all of a sudden, he wakes up, overpowers a nurse. Now, she has lost her life due to no fault of her own. Then he forces the male security guard to strip so that he can use his clothes to make his escape. When Yana got back to her office after leaving court, she received a phone call from the hospital telling her that her mother, Margareta, had passed away. I guess it's okay to say passed away since there's no criminality involved in this. Now, detectives Mia and Hendrik are trying to figure out just when and or how it was that Danilo woke up, caused loss of life for the woman and made a clean getaway right up under the hospital's nose, so to speak. 'Cause, you got your security guards and doctors and nurses, whatever. But he was able to make his escape. Yana has now gotten to the hospital, and this is just the way I believe it happened, or I imagine it happened. Yana arrived at the hospital just as Danilo had made his escape, and this was unbeknownst to either one of them. All right, so Yana got to the hospital where she learned that her mother had actually passed away from a heart attack. After leaving the hospital, she returned to her childhood home, where she finds her father, former hotshot DA Carl Berzelius, sitting in a wheelchair at the kitchen table. Now, remember at the end of Marked for Revenge, Yana and her father, they ended up getting into a pretty bad fight. Carl had come to get some papers because word had come down the pipeline that whatever underground activities that were going on that should not have been taking place, that was about to be found out. He knew that Yana had these papers that told the tale. So to me, Carl went there to retrieve the papers from Yana's apartment. He'd hoped to get in and out without running into her, but she came home. So he decided to just go ahead and check himself out. So Yana didn't want to lose him in that way. So that's where the fight ensued. And he's still with us, but she did end up causing irreversible damage. So that's why his butt is sitting up in that wheelchair at the kitchen table. Now, when she got to her parents' house, she met her father's live-in caretaker, Elin. Elin has come downstairs, and she told Yana, okay, now this is another sidebar. I believe Elin knew that the Berzeliuses had a daughter, but she had never met her. And I also don't think Elin knew that Yana was their adopted daughter. And this is why I say that, because when they meet, Elin tells Yana that she was really there to speak with Margreta. So Elin doesn't know that Margreta is dead. And she updates Yana on her father's condition. And then when Elin told Yana that her contract was due to expire in 2 months, and this is also what I'm thinking. Elin told Yana that, they would have to either renew her contract or Margreta would have to do all the work herself. Well, now Yana knows that her mother is no longer with us, and she also knows that she is not the one to be seeing about her father. So she rehired Elin on the spot. And then she begins asking Elin all kinds of questions like, well, how is Carl? What is his prognosis? Is Carl? Has Carl? Will Carl? And so Elin answered Yana as best she could. When Yana was satisfied with those particular answers, she says to Elin, tell father his wife is dead. And turned around and left. Oh, wow. So this is how I meet the boss's daughter. Upon returning home from her parents' house, Yana reflects back on the last time she was with her birth parents as a little girl. She remembered being packed along with several adults and a handful of children. She remembered them all being packed into shipping containers, and those containers were used to transport them from Taiwan to Sweden. So we already know that that's something was unethical about the way they handled all of that. Now, like I said, Danilo has left the hospital and has made it all the way to Yana's house. Here we meet 2 new characters, Bookers and Bookettes. They're sisters, Aida and Sarah, with Aida being the older of the 2 girls. One day Aida, came home from work and found their mother near death. When the paramedics got there, they discovered that both of her hands had been chopped off and they were within 3 feet of their mother. Danilo has blackmailed Yana into letting him stay in her apartment as he plots his next move. Now, remember I told you at the top that Yana and her father got into a fight over those papers. So Danilo claims to have the papers in his custody now. Yana doesn't know whether he has them or not, but what she does know that is that if he does have those papers, he could rule her for, ever. But he also told Yana now, if you get rid of me or if you maim me, I have strict orders to pass the paperwork on to whomever needs. So it would be to your advantage not to hurt me, Yana, and to let me live there. So she does. The more things change, the more things stay the same between Mia and Yana. Now let me tell you what I took away for their similarities and their differences. They are both young. I think they are in their mid to late 20s. They are both beautiful, neither of which has children nor husbands. And both of them are educated, very well educated. But there are two differences. Mia does date. She would love to go out on dates, but Yana doesn't. But the biggest difference is Mia is blue collar, meaning her family. She comes from a blue collar family, and her Yana comes from a white collar family. And because, well, Mia has perceived anyway that Yana has come from a privileged background. She has no idea about Yana's true past. So because she looked at Yana, oh yeah, there's one other difference I left out. Mia is an only child. And did I say Mia? If I did, correction. Yana is an only child. And Mia is one of 5 or 6 children. I know she's the only girl, but she had a lot of brothers. So that's another difference. Now, Mia, she was from the streets. Whatever she got is because she literally had to get out there and do the legwork. And whatever it is Yana got is because she literally had to get in there and do the paperwork. I want to laugh so bad, but my throat is really irritating me, so I'm trying not to laugh. Anyway, Mia resents Yana for having a privileged life. Like I say, this is Mia's perception of Yana. So she doesn't like Yana. But Yana doesn't like anybody, so who is Mia to her? Okay, Yana had plans to work from home one day, but she received a phone call from her boss telling her about the latest crime scene, so she ended up going into the office. Now, she still has not told anyone that her mother had passed away. New detectives, Philip and Sandra, they're getting on each other's nerves. Excuse me. She keeps asking him questions, and some of which have nothing to do with work. It's ticking him off. Yana is now at the funeral home making arrangements for her mother's burial ceremony. Mia and Henrik went to interview Aida about their mother's death. They learned that she was a surgery nurse who didn't seem to have much of a life outside of work. When they, hold tight, when they mentioned wanting to interview little sister Sarah, their grandmother, Maria, this is the decedent's mother, she refused to let them talk to her. So they tried to figure out why Maria wouldn't allow them to speak to Sarah. Maria said it was not because she didn't really want them to talk to her. She felt like, she just felt like as little as Sarah was, Sarah would not be able to shed much light into her mother's passing. So when Yana came home from the funeral home, she noticed that her mail was out of place. She also saw Danilo on the floor doing push-ups with a sneer on his face. He apparently that was just something that was his permanent facial expression, I guess. He was about to say something, but Yana she didn't have time that day. She just walked straight past Danilo into her bedroom, closed the door, sat down on her bed, and smiled to herself. For once, just once, she knows that she has gotten under Danilo's skin simply by ignoring him. Detective Philip had some kind of an addiction to some kind of pills, although he tries his best to hide it from his wife Lena and his partner Sandra. Now Sandra has already threatened to report him to their boss Ava. Now I'm not sure if Sandra went and said something or if this is Ava's, she had been already watching him, but Ava told Philip that she was going to keep an eye on him. She said because most people after working 24 to 48 hours, they are dropped dead, tired, dead on their feet. But she notices that Philip can go for days on end, or so it seems anyway. After a long day of work, Yana allows her colleague, Pierre Ostrom, to take her to dinner against her better judgment. Detectives Mia and Henrik went and they interviewed the girls, Aida and Sarah. They went to visit their neighbor. Now, they learned that the neighbor told them that he noticed Sarah having a black eye one day, although it had begun to fade. On another occasion, he saw Sarah standing in the doorway of their, meaning Sarah, her mother, and sister's apartment. A man comes up and hits her in the back of her head. According to the neighbor, Sarah didn't seem surprised, but she did seem scared and hurt. The mother comes up behind the man. The mother must have seen the blow, said the neighbor, but said nothing. Instead, the three of them, Sarah, her mom, and the man, they just went inside and closed the door. That's sad. Yana returned home after having dinner with Pierre. Oh boy, this is the funniest thing yet I have read in this book. But I can't even laugh right now. Okay. After the dinner, she came home. Danilo was sitting at the kitchen table with a glass of water in front of him. She glanced, hold on. She noticed he wasn't wearing that sneer on his face as he usually does. So, did you enjoy your dinner with Pear? She glanced over at the knife block before sitting down at the table. Again, he asked, well, did you enjoy your dinner date with Pear? He asked. Why do you care? Have you looked at my phone? I told you, I've always told you, Yana, you should be more careful. And you might want to change your PIN code to your phone. At this, Yana clenched her fists. Calm down now. I am calm. Why, do you think I'm going to attack you? I am worried you're going to hurt me. He takes a sip of water. Over this thing with your phone. Is that why you... Let me stop laughing. Yeah, please try not to pay those sirens any attention. They seem to be getting louder and louder, but they're not coming down my street. Okay, I am worried you're going to hurt me over this thing with your phone. Is that why you have a knife pointed at me under the table? And I'm sorry, YouTube. That is something that only an assassin or a trained assassin would even think to ask. That just never would have crossed my mind. Well, when she asked that question, Danilo grimaced. How did you know? In the first place, Danilo, you're right-handed. So if you really were drinking the water, you would have held the glass in your right hand. And in the second place, I looked at my knife block, and one of them is missing. Since it's not on the counter, I assume you have it in your hand. That's just a precautionary measure. That's all he could say. Then this fool goes right on and threatens to send Pear to meet his maker if Yana continues to see him outside of work. Now, it was at this point that I decided that Danilo evidently has, I don't know if he's crushing on Yana or if he's actually fallen in love with her. Because in the other two books and so far in this book, there has never been a time when either of them have let on that they had feelings for each other. Matter of fact, Yana apparently has feelings for no one. Sadly, though, she reflects back to one of many memories of her sad childhood. Wow. She reflects back, let's see, hold tight. Yeah, she reflects on her violent past. She remembers that at one time, both she and Danilo were actually childhood friends. They were only 7 years old when life as they knew it came to a vicious end. They were no longer Yana and Danilo. They had been rebranded. Yana as Kyr, which in Greek mythology is goddess of death, and Danilo as Hades, which in Greek mythology is ruler of the underworld. So 21 years later, Yana is very resentful of Danilo for forcing her to hide him out in her apartment. And I do not blame them. So now, Detective Philip finds himself wondering if he should continue taking the pills. One of the pills was meant to calm him down, and the other one was meant to help him sleep. Annalie is missing Gunnar. Now, although they've separated several times before, there's something about this time that has an air of unspoken finality. She composed a text to him but decided to cancel it before putting her phone back on her bedside table. She's upset with herself because of the constant infidelity that she knows she's committed. This has forced her and her son to move in with her elderly mother. And her relationship with said son, their son, Annalie, and Gunnar's son, Adam, I think is how you say his name. But their relationship is strained, to say the least. Detective Philip is back at his friend Katarina's house, but she's not there. Everybody is back at the precinct discussing what they've uncovered in the girl's mother's case. They have uncovered 4 pages of threatening texts that have been sent to their mother's phone from a burner phone. Then the decision was made to talk to Aida again. So Henry goes and tells her what it is that they have. He told her about the texts. He's told her about what the neighbor had to say. And when he was saying all of this, Aida was she had her arms wrapped around herself. And she was just rocking back and forth. She kept her eyes downcast, like towards the floor. Then Henry tells her that the neighbor also told him that he had seen a man visiting their mother. Well, at that, Aida denied being aware of any man visiting their mother at any, oh goodness. She denied knowing anything about any man visiting their mother at any given time. So now, what is it? Okay, Henrik and Yana, they are discussing Aida's interview with Henrik. They agreed that Aida was holding something back. They didn't know what it was, of course. So then they agreed that Henrik should try to convince Grandmother Maria to allow someone to speak to Sarah, and I guess she relented because Special Victims Unit investigator I think her name is pronounced Nikayla. I'm not sure. So I'm just going to call her Nikki. Investigator Nikki is interviewing Sarah, while Henrik and Yana observe from another room. So the first thing Sarah says is, "Mommy's bloody." Investigator Nikki tries to get Sarah to respond, but she just stopped talking. Then she goes on and talks a little. Sarah goes on and talks a little bit more than this. She said that she was thirsty and asked if they had red juice. Nikki said, "Do you like red juice?" She said, "I like red juice. Mommy doesn't. Mommy likes coffee, but I don't. Children usually don't like coffee. Coffee hurts." "Why does coffee hurt?" "It hurts here." Sarah points to her chest. "Did you get coffee there?" Sarah nodded her head. "Yes." "Did it happen on purpose?" Once again, Sarah stopped speaking. "Is there anything else that happened at home that you want to talk to me about?" "Yes." "Mommy's bloody." "Why is Mommy bloody?" "Her sweetheart." "What's Mommy's sweetheart's name?" "Ted."